So, you're buying a property with someone else. Sounds pretty simple, right? A shared dream. But what if I told you there's a kind of hidden legal switch that gets flipped the moment you sign? A switch that decides who gets everything if the worst happens. It's a choice most of us don't even realize we're making.
You're finally doing it. You're taking the plunge with your partner or a friend, maybe a family member. You found the perfect place, you've sorted the mortgage, you're all set to get the keys. But in all that excitement, did anyone stop and ask you how you want to own it? Because believe me, that one decision changes everything.
And this is where it gets really critical. Because, life happens. Relationships change. So what happens if you break up? What if one of you needs to cash out and wants to sell? And maybe the biggest question of all, what happens if one of you dies?
Well, the law doesn't just leave this up to chance. The second two or more names go on that property deed, a legal framework called a trust of land snaps into place automatically. Think of it like the invisible rulebook for your property. It's what's going to govern all your rights and responsibilities as co-owners.
The answer to all those huge, life-changing questions comes down to this single choice you make right at the very beginning. A choice that determines exactly how that legal trust is going to work. It all depends on which of two very different paths of ownership you go down. So what are these two paths? Well, they're called joint tenancy and tenancy in common. Now, the names might sound kind of similar, a bit formal, but trust me, legally, they lead to completely different destinations for your share of the property.
Okay, so let's break it down. Joint tenancy is the all-for-one, one-for-all approach. You don't own separate pieces of the property. You all own 100% of it together, like you're a single person. Tenancy in common is the total opposite. It's all about defined shares. You own your own distinct slice of the pie. Could be 50%, could be 60-40, whatever. And you get to decide what happens to your slice.
But there is one single rule that makes this choice absolutely critical. It's a rule that kicks in the moment an owner dies, and when it comes to your inheritance, it can be a true point of no return.
This is the big one. It's called the right of survivorship. And listen up, because this only applies to a joint tenancy. When one joint tenant dies, their interest in the property, well, it just vanishes, and it's automatically absorbed by the other owners. It doesn't go to their kids, it doesn't follow what their will says, it goes straight to the other people on the deed, period.
And this is the part that, honestly, it blows people's minds. You can have a perfectly written, legally solid will that says, I leave my half of the house to my children. But if you own that house as a joint tenant, that will is completely, utterly ignored. The right of survivorship always wins. Your share automatically jumps to the surviving co-owner.
So what if your life changes? You started out as joint tenants, but now you're separated. Or you just decide you'd rather your share go to your kids instead. Are you just stuck, locked in forever? Nope, there's a way out. There's a way to switch paths, and it's a legal process called severance.
Okay, so remember, a joint tenancy is like a single solid block of ownership. All the owners are fused together into one indivisible unit. You can't just separate your part from the whole.
Severance is the legal act of, well, cutting that block. It takes your interest out of that unified ownership and turns it into your own distinct separate share. Suddenly, you're no longer a joint tenant, you've become a tenant in common. Your share is now yours to control and, crucially, yours to leave in your will.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. A famous legal case defined it perfectly. Severance is, and I'm quoting here, the process of separating off the share of a joint tenant so that the right of survivorship will no longer apply. You're still a co-owner, but the fundamental rules of the game have changed for you.
Okay, so that's the what, but how do you actually do it? How does this work in the real world? Well, the law gives us a few pretty clear ways to sever a joint tenancy. The most direct route is through a written notice, and it doesn't have to be some crazy, complicated legal document. The really key things are, it's got to be in writing, you have to send it to all the other joint tenants, and it has to show a clear, immediate intention to sever. Not, I might want to sever one day, but I am severing my share right now. So just how concrete is that servant rule? Well, there's this incredible real-life case that tells you everything you need to know. A wife sends a severance notice to her husband. Before he gets a chance to read it, he has a heart attack. She realizes that if he dies without seeing the letter, she'll get everything through survivorship. So she finds the letter and destroys it. But the court said, too late. The severance was effective the moment that letter was delivered to the house, whether he read it or not. Wild, right?
Now, a formal notice isn't the only way.
Severance can also happen just through your actions. Like if you go out and sell or mortgage your share, even though it's technically undivided, that can do it. If you all agree to sever, even if it's just a verbal agreement, that works too. And then there's a pretty grim but logical one. The law says you can't profit from your crime. So if one joint tenant unlawfully kills another, that automatically severs the tenancy.
So after all of that, what does this actually mean for you? It means that understanding this difference isn't just some dusty legal detail. It's about making a conscious choice that actually matches your intentions for what is probably your most valuable asset.
Let's just boil it all down one more time. Joint tenancy. It's simple. It's automatic. It's often perfect for married couples who just want everything to go to the survivor. Tenancy in common, on the other hand, is all about control and flexibility. It is absolutely essential for business partners, friends, or really any situation where people put in different amounts of money and want to control where their share goes.
And here's the crucial takeaway. The box you ticked on a form 10 years ago might not reflect your reality today. A joint tenancy that made total sense when you got married might make 0 sense after a separation. This is not a set-it-and-forget-it decision.
So, we'll leave you with this thought. You know the hidden rules now. You know how this game is played. Take a hard look at your own situation. For that property you co-own, do you know for certain which path you're on? And maybe more importantly, is it still the right one for you?